Preeti presenting this edition of the news this hour. First, we get you the headlines. 3, including actor Shah Rukh Khan's son Aryan Khan, sent to one-day NCB custody in the drugs party case on board a Mumbai to Goa luxury cruise. They will be produced in the court today for their judicial custody. NCB arrests 5 more people in the case. District administration confirms 8 deaths in Lakhimpur incident in Uttar Pradesh. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath expresses grief, says state government will go into depth and expose the elements involved in the incident and will take strict action against them. India's active caseload at lowest numbers in 200 days. 90.79 crore vaccine doses administered so far in the country. Schools reopen in Mumbai, Karnataka, Udupi and Mangaluru. High Court of Jharkhand resumes physical hearing of cases from today. India's reciprocal conditional travel norms for UK citizens begins. They include mandatory 10-day quarantine and RT-PCR test on arrival at airport. British travel rules for Indian citizens also kick in from today. Japan's newly elected ruling party leader, Fumio Kishida, formally confirmed as the country's new prime minister in a parliamentary vote. New cabinet ministers under him expected to be announced. Title favourites India to begin their SAF championship campaign under the captaincy of Sunil Chhetri against a plucky Bangladesh today. India have won the tournament 7 times out of the 12 editions. So those were the top stories, the headlines. Let's get to the news in detail. The Narcotics Control Bureau on Sunday arrested Aryan Khan, son of Bollywood actor Shah Rukh Khan, and 7 others in connection with the seizure of banned drugs on board a cruise ship off the Mumbai coast. Besides Aryan Khan, the arrested 4 accused are identified as Munmun Dhamecha, Arbaz Merchant, Ismeet Singh, Mohak Jaswal, Gomit Chopra, Nupur Sarika and Vikrant Chokar. Drugs like MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine, MD and cannabis were recovered from the spot. All the 8 accused will be produced before the court today. NCB Zonal Director Sameer Wankhare led the Mumbai cruise raid. NCB officials boarded the cruise in advance and raided the party when it began. During the operation, the suspects were searched and the drugs were recovered, which they hid in their clothes and purse. The Bureau says that the raid is the result of a 2-week-long investigation and intelligence gathering. Links with Bollywood have been exposed. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath expressed grief on the Lakhimpur Kheri incident. Describing the incident as unfortunate, Yogi Adityanath said that the matter will be investigated in detail and strict action will be taken against the culprits. He also appealed to the locals to maintain peace and not pay heed to the rumours. He also asked people to refrain from arriving at any conclusions. Uttar Pradesh police in a tweet said, in the unfortunate incident of Lakhimpur, 8 casualties have been reported till now as per the district administration. ADG Law and Order, ACS Agriculture, IG Range and Commissioner are on the spot and the situation is under control. He further said that the adequate deployment has been done to prevent any untoward incident. Let's get you a quick update on the COVID-19 situation across the country. India continues to battle the pandemic. According to the latest update by the Health and Family Welfare Ministry, recoveries further improved while the active cases declined. 26,718 recoveries were recorded in the last 24 hours, and that has increased the cumulative tally of recovered patients to 3,31,21,247. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands at 97.89%. The recovery rate is currently at its highest peak since March 2020. The active cases in the country account for less than 1% of the total cases, which is currently at 0.78%, the lowest since March 2020. Sustained and collaborative efforts by the centre and the states and union territories continue the trend of less than 50,000 daily new cases that is being reported for 99 consecutive days now. In the last 24 hours, India has dropped has reported 20,799 new cases. The active caseload is presently 2,64,458, which is the lowest in the last 200 days. Active cases presently constitute 0.78% of the country's total positive cases. The weekly positivity rate remains below 3% for the last 101 days and is currently at 1.63%. The daily positivity rate is also less than 3% for the last 35 days and is now at 2.1%. Testing capacity in India has also been ramped up. More than 57.42 crore samples have been tested so far across the country. With the administration of 23,46,178 vaccine doses in the last 24 hours, India's COVID vaccination coverage has exceeded a 90.79 crore mark. Also, 90 crore 79 lakh 32,861 beneficiaries in all have been vaccinated. This has been achieved through 88 lakh 5,668 sessions. More than 89.89 crore vaccine doses have been provided to states and union territories. Over 5.67 crore balance and unutilized vaccine doses in fact are still available with states and union territories. After 18 months of the pandemic-driven shutdown, all schools in Mumbai for classes 8 to 12 have reopened today with the COVID protocols. As per the SOP, parent consent is necessary for the students to attend the school. Before starting school, it is necessary that all teachers and non-teaching staff in the school are vaccinated. Otherwise, 48 hours prior, RT-PCR test for COVID-19 should be done. No other student, rather nobody other than student and the school staff will be allowed to enter the school premises except for urgent work. Also, masks are mandatory for everyone all the time. In Karnataka, full-time physical classes for students from classes 6th to 10th also began today in Mangaluru and also Udupi after a gap of around 1 year and 9 months. Now, due to COVID pandemic, classes were being held only till afternoon or in the afternoon session. All educational institutions are directed to hold classes under COVID guidelines. Physical hearing of cases in Jharkhand High Court also resumed today, and 3 days after district courts in the state began physical hearings in line with directions issued by the High Court's Registrar General last week. Hearings were taking place virtually in court since March last year when the first wave of the COVID pandemic hit. Also, during physical hearings, COVID-19 protocols such as maintaining social distancing and wearing face masks will have to be adhered to. UK nationals arriving in India will now have to undergo mandatory 10-day quarantine weeks after the UK imposed similar restrictions on Indian travellers. All UK nationals arriving in India from the UK, irrespective of their vaccination status, will have to undergo a mandatory quarantine at home or in destination address for 10 days after arrival in India. A pre-departure COVID-19 RT-PCR test within 72 hours before travel, an RT-PCR test on arrival at airport and an RT-PCR test on day 8 after arrival is also mandatory. The British travel rules also come into effect from today. The Kerala government has also imposed new mandatory guidelines for international travellers. Now, according to the new guidelines, travellers from UK will have to undergo 10-day quarantine at home or destination address. Passengers from South Africa, Brazil and Europe will have to undergo a 7-day quarantine mandatorily on arrival. Also, all international travellers, irrespective of their vaccination status, will have to take RT-PCR tests on reaching the airports in the state. Travellers from other countries will have to undergo self-monitoring for 14 days if they test negative in the RT-PCR test. Samples of passengers from countries like Botswana, the UK, New Zealand, South Africa, Brazil, European nations, also nations of the West Asia, Bangladesh, China, Mauritius and Zimbabwe will be sent for virus mutation tests. A total 3 RT-PCR tests are required for an international passenger to the state, one prior to 72 hours of the journey, the second on the arrival at an airport in the state, and the third 8 days after arriving in the state. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla today called on Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. They had a productive discussion on further consolidating the multifaceted India-Sri Lanka partnership. Later addressing the inauguration of Indian Development Cooperation projects at Temple Trees, Colombo, the Foreign Secretary called Sri Lankan Prime Minister an ardent friend of India and a steady source of support for the deepening of India-Sri Lanka engagement. The Foreign Secretary will also call on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla is on a 4-day visit to Sri Lanka. Up next, a quick look at the global COVID numbers from across the globe. As per the figures, more than 23 crore, in fact, 57 lakh people, that is 23.57 crore people across the world, have tested positive for the virus so far, while over 21 crore, 26 lakh patients have recovered from it. Also, the deadly virus has claimed lives of more than 48 lakh 16,000 people worldwide. The United States remains the worst affected country by the pandemic. The nation is witnessing spike in daily new cases due to the Delta variant of the virus, and more than 4 crore 45 lakh people have been infected in the US by the virus. More than 7 lakh 19,000 people in the country have lost their lives so far. Fumio Kishida has formally taken office as Japan's new Prime Minister, succeeding Yoshihide Suga, who resigned after just 1 year in office. The new cabinet members under Kishida are due to be announced later today. Of the 20 posts, 13 will be filled by people with no prior cabinet experience, in line with Kishida's pledge to give chance to new people. He won the race to lead Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party last week, and he will now lead the LDP into a general election that must be held by November. North Korea has restored communication lines with the South months after it cut a cross-border hotline. South Korea's Unification Ministry said that officials from both Koreas exchanged their first phone call this morning since August. The move comes days after the country's leader Kim Jong-un said that he was willing to restore communication as a conditional olive branch. Communication hotlines between the two sides have been cut and restored several times. In 2020, after a failed summit between North and South, Pyongyang blew up an inter-Korean border office that had been built to improve communications. Also in the same year, North Korea severed all communication lines with the South, including a hotline between both leaders and military communication channels after tensions worsened. The hotline was briefly restored this August but cut again after South Korea participated in the joint military exercises with the US. A swath of the southern California coast is covered with oil after 3,000 barrels worth of oil gushed into the Pacific Ocean, devastating some of the local wildlife. A pipeline breach occurred about 5 miles of the coast of Huntington Beach. Now, the large oil spill off the coast has been described as an environmental catastrophe by the mayor of Huntington Beach on Sunday, as the breach of an oil rig pipeline left dead fish and birds strewn on sand and offshore wetlands clogged with oil. An estimated 3,000 barrels had spilled into an oil slick covering about 13 square miles of the Pacific Ocean. The spill was caused by a breach connected to the Ely oil rig and stretched from the Huntington Beach pier down to Newport Beach. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement said that it was supporting response efforts headed by the U.S. Coast Guard. And that has classified the situation as a major oil spill. Beaches were closed for swimming and a local air show was concealed in lieu of the spill. Meanwhile, Mayor of Huntington Beach, a Southern California coastal town that was hit over the weekend with the oil spill, said that those responsible for the environmental disaster must be held accountable. Mayor Kim Carr told reporters that the city was already looking at measures right now to make sure that they are held accountable for the large oil spill that began washing ashore at the beach after an oil rig pipeline was breached.
Overall cleanup effort is being expertly coordinated right now. The company responsible for this oil spill, which we understand to be Beta Offshore, a California subsidiary of Houston-based Amplify Energy Corporation, is working on the cleanup effort as well. In the coming days and weeks, we challenge the responsible parties to do everything possible to rectify this environmental catastrophe. But as far as the responsible parties, yes, we are looking at measures right now to make sure that they are held accountable for this. The beach closure will be in place until further notice.
With climate change clutching the world tight, with carbon emissions and global warming escalating day by day, a new method of making diamonds, sunglasses, high-end Lululemon sportswear and concrete has come in focus as carbon dioxide is being used to make them. Tech startups behind these transformations are grabbing investor attention. All fossil-based products that could use recycled CO2 instead account for some 6.8 billion tons of emissions, according to a Columbia University report in May. The makers pull apart the carbon and the oxygen in CO2 to create another chemical that is used to make consumer goods. Capturing CO2 is a less enticing prospect for many investors who think the government should fund such expensive, high-risk projects. Companies in the area have raised over $800 million so far this year, more than tripling from 2020. Indonesia is keen to send a message about the world's worsening ocean plastics crisis. The environmentalists have created a museum made entirely from plastics to convince people to rethink of their habits and say no to single-use bags and bottles. The outdoor exhibition in the town of Gresik in East Java took 3 months to assemble. From bottles, bags to sachets and straws, the centerpiece is made up of more than 10,000 plastic waste items, all collected from polluted rivers and beaches. The centerpiece, a statue called Dwi Sri, which means a goddess of prosperity, widely worshipped by the Javanese. And up next, we take an update on La Palma, the volcanic eruption. Also, Spain's Cumbre volcano has been erupting since past 2 weeks, and it still continues. Red hot lava exploded high into the air from the volcano on Sunday night as the eruption gathered force, hours after Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that Spain would help rebuild the island, adding that it was safe for tourists to visit. Local media reported the north side of the volcano had collapsed late on Sunday, causing a faster flow of lava. The collapse has formed a new lava flow that was threatening several nearby towns. The Cumbre volcano has destroyed more than 900 buildings. About 6,000 people have been evacuated from homes on the island out of a population of some 83,000. At least 9 people were killed in Oman and Iran on Sunday as tropical cyclone Shaheen struck parts of their coastlines. 2 people died in a landslide and a child in flash flooding in Oman. National Committee for Emergency Management said that rescue teams pulled the bodies of 2 Asian workers from their homes hit by a landslide in the Rizai industrial area of Muscat province. Flights were suspended and schools were closed. Oman declared a 2-day national holiday and shut the schools due to the adverse climatic conditions. In Iran, 6 people were killed in Chabahar port in the southeastern province of Sistan Balochistan. Provincial Governor Hossein Modares Khabani said that infrastructure, including electrical facilities and roads, were damaged. The eye of the storm was 220 kilometers off the coast of the province. UAE was also on high alert. In Saudi Arabia, weather warnings have been issued for several regions across the country, starting from today till Friday. In China, unprecedented torrential rains battered northeast China's Liaoning province from Saturday to Sunday, causing severe waterlogging in the streets and residential areas, inundating roads, trapping dwellers, and leading to traffic disruptions, said the local authorities on Sunday. The rarely seen heavy rains hit several cities in the province, registering record rainfall for the period of the year. In Wencheng district, A residential building was seriously flooded with more than 20 local residents trapped inside. To deal with the heavy rainfall, local authorities have arranged for more people to work on flood prevention in several cities. There has been no report of casualties so far, according to the local authorities. In Italy's Milan, a private plane crashed into an empty building on the outskirts of Milan, northern Italy, on Sunday, killing all the people on board. The aeroplane, which was carrying 8 people, had taken off from Milan's Linate City airport, which was heading for the island of Sardinia. The crash occurred just outside a suburban metro station. People in the area could hear the blast where the plane collided with a 2-story building, which was empty at the time as it was being renovated. Several vehicles parked along the street caught fire, witnesses said, but no casualties were reported. An investigation into the cause of the crash has been launched. In sports, title favourites India will begin their SAF Championships campaign against a plucky Bangladesh, knowing fully well that they are just a little bit superior than their opponents despite the domination in this regional tournament. India have won the tournament 7 times out of the 12 editions, but by their own admission of their talismanic captain Sunil Chhetri, every match will be like a war to fight. Bangladesh have been a tough customer for India, who had needed a late equalizer in the first leg of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers match in Kolkata to draw 1 each. The Blue Tigers had, though, won the second leg 2-0. FC Goa claimed their maiden Durand Cup football title after a 1-0 win over Mohammedan Sporting in the final in Kolkata yesterday. Captain Eduardo Bedia scored the all-important goal in the 105th minute after the final match went into extra time. The Durand Cup crown also marks FC Goa coach João Fernando Fenoyel's first ever trophy on the Indian soil. Now, FC Goa got 40 lakh rupees for winning the title, while Mohammedan Sporting received 20 lakh rupees. Manchester City came from behind twice to earn a 2-each draw with Liverpool in a breathless and pulsating Premier League encounter at Anfield on Sunday. All 4 goals came in a second half packed with high quality, high tempo, end-to-end football that makes the Premier League so popular globally. Sadio Mane had put Liverpool ahead before Phil Foden equalised only for Mohamed Salah to restore the home side's advantage with a wonderful solo goal. But Kevin De Bruyne's 81-minute equaliser ensured that the team shared the points and left Liverpool in the second place on 15 points, 1 behind the leaders Chelsea. Tottenham ended their 3-game Premier League losing streak with a hard-fought, morale-boosting 2-1 victory over Aston Villa. Hobjer gave Spurs a deserved half-time lead with the breakthrough goal before the half-hour mark, but Aston Villa levelled on 67 minutes through Ollie Watkins' close-range finish, but parity lasted for just 4 minutes as Heung-min Son, the creator of Hobjer's opener, capped a memorable performance by laying on the winning goal. His driven cross was turned into his own net by Matt Targett while under pressure from Lucas Moura. Tottenham's first league victory since August 29 eases the pressure on the under-fire manager, whose side halted Villa's 2-game winning run as they leapfrogged them to the 8th in the table. World Habitat Day is being observed today. It is marked on the first Monday of October each year and is recognized by the United Nations to reflect on the state of towns and cities and on the basic right of all to adequate shelter. The theme for World Habitat Day this year is Accelerating Urban Action for a Carbon-Free World. It is to recognize that cities are responsible for some 70% of the global carbon dioxide emissions. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has tweeted and said that by 2050, over 1.6 billion urban residents may have to survive through average summertime highs of 35 degrees Celsius. On World Habitat Day, let's commit to sustainable urban action for the benefit of our planet and all people. All right, that's it in this edition of the News. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.